The ancient fleet materialized in New Haven's orbit like ghosts becoming solid. One moment space was empty except for the dozen Velcran warships blockading the planet. The next moment nearly 4,000 human vessels surrounded them. On the bridge of the Velcran command ship, alarms screamed. The captain stared at his displays in disbelief. Where did they come from? How did they bypass our sensors? His tactical officer's hands shook as he read the data. Sir, these ships are using technology I have never seen before. Their power signatures are off the scale. I count 3,847 vessels. All of them are weapons hot. The captain had fought in 30 battles across his career. He had destroyed rebellions and crushed pirates. He had never felt fear. But looking at the human fleet surrounding him, fear crept into his chest like ice water. A communication came through, a human voice, young and tired. This is Taeyang of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have occupied New Haven illegally. You have murdered human civilians. You have one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted out of this system. You have 5 minutes to comply. The Velcran captain laughed. It was a harsh sound. The humans think they can threaten us? We are the Velcran Empire. We bow to no one. He opened a channel to his fleet. All ships attack formation. Destroy these primitives. The Velcran warships opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space toward the human fleet. Missiles streaked across the void. It was enough firepower to level a city. The human ships did not even move. Their shields absorbed the attacks like raindrops hitting stone. Then they returned fire. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. The human ships did not fight like any force the Velcran had ever encountered. They moved in perfect coordination as if controlled by a single mind. Thousands of small drones launched from the larger vessels, swarming the Velcran ships like angry insects. The drones were tiny, but they were smart. They overwhelmed the Velcran point defense systems. Within seconds, they attached to the enemy hulls and began cutting through armor with precision lasers. They targeted engines, weapons, shield generators. Nothing vital. Nothing that would kill the crew. Just enough to disable the ships completely. The Velcran captain watched in horror as his ship was systematically torn apart. His weapons fell offline. His engines died. His shields collapsed. Within 3 minutes of combat beginning, his entire fleet was dead in space, not destroyed, just helpless. This is impossible, he whispered. No force in the galaxy fights like this. Taeyang's voice came through again. Your ships are disabled. Your crews are unharmed. Evacuation shuttles are being deployed to take you off the vessels. You will be held until the Galactic Coalition decides what to do with you. This is your only warning. The next Velcran fleet that threatens a human world will not be treated so gently. The captain wanted to argue, wanted to rage, but he was a practical warrior. He had lost, completely and totally lost. We surrender, he said quietly. On New Haven's surface, the colonists watched the battle through telescopes and screens. They saw the Velcran fleet fall silent. They saw human ships taking control of the orbit. They saw their nightmare end. People poured into the streets crying and cheering. Governor Park stood in the central square where Minji had died and wept openly. She did not die for nothing, he said. She did not die for nothing. But Taeyang did not celebrate. The battle for New Haven was just the beginning. News of what happened spread across the galaxy at light speed. Within hours, every species knew that humanity had a secret fleet. Within a day, the Velcran Empire declared humanity a hostile power. The Velcran Emperor was an old warrior who had ruled for 40 years. He had conquered 20 species and crushed 100 rebellions. When he heard about New Haven, he threw his advisors out of the throne room and sat alone thinking. A single human colony had embarrassed his empire. If he did nothing, other species would see weakness. Rebellions would start. His empire would crumble. He had no choice but to respond with overwhelming force. He called his military commanders. Assemble the Grand Fleet, every available ship. I want 2,000 warships ready to jump in 3 days. We will crush these humans and broadcast their destruction across the galaxy. We will remind everyone what happens when you defy the Empire. The commanders were nervous. Your Majesty, the human technology appears very advanced. Should we not study them first? Learn their weaknesses? No, the Emperor said. We attack now before they can prepare. We outnumber them 2-1. Numbers will win this battle. 3 days later, the Velcran Grand Fleet assembled at the border of human space. It was the largest military force ever gathered in the galaxy's modern era. The ships stretched across space like a metal ocean, Sentinel detected them immediately. Velcran fleet incoming, 2,847 vessels. They are heading for the Crimson Nebula. Likely plan is to establish a forward base and launch attacks on human colonies. Taiyang studied the tactical display. The Velcran had more ships, but most of them were older designs. The human fleet had technology centuries ahead. Can we win? Probability of victory is 97.3%, Sentinel replied. However, casualties on both sides will be significant. Estimated Velcran deaths 400,000 to 600,000 personnel. Human casualties. Minimal, assuming ships are properly maintained during combat. 400,000 to 600,000 deaths. Taiyang felt sick. These were not just numbers. These were people, soldiers who were following orders. Many of them probably did not even want this war. But they were coming anyway. And if Taiyang did nothing, they would attack human colonies. They would kill civilians. More people like Minji would die. We intercept them at the Crimson Nebula, Taiyang said. We give them one chance to turn back. If they attack, we defend ourselves. The two fleets met in the Crimson Nebula, a region of space filled with red gas clouds and dying stars. The Velcran fleet formed a traditional battle line, a wall of ships ready to advance and overwhelm the enemy. The human fleet spread out in a loose sphere, surrounding the Velcran forces from all angles. It looked like a defensive position. The Velcran commanders thought the humans were afraid. They were wrong. Taiyang opened a final communication channel. Velcran fleet, this is your last warning. Turn back now. We do not want to kill you. We want peace. But if you attack, we will defend ourselves with everything we have. The Velcran Emperor himself responded. His face appeared on the screen, scarred and angry. You killed my sister. You humiliated my empire. There will be no peace. There will only be your extinction. Taiyang felt something inside him harden. I am sorry, he said. I am sorry it has to be this way. He closed the channel and turned to Sentinel. Rules of engagement remain the same. Minimum necessary force. Disable ships when possible. But if they will not stop, if they keep attacking, then do what you must to protect human lives. Understood, Sentinel said. Engaging enemy fleet. The Battle of Crimson Nebula lasted 4 hours. It was the most one-sided battle in modern galactic history. The human ships moved like dancers, predicting Velcran movements before they happened. Their weapons were surgical, taking out key systems while leaving life support intact. But the Velcran kept fighting. They were brave warriors who refused to surrender. So the human fleet had to escalate. Ships that would not power down were destroyed. Vessels that tried to ram human ships were vaporized. The red gas clouds of the nebula turned redder with fire and death. By the end, 1,800 Velcran ships were disabled or destroyed. 380,000 Velcran personnel were dead. The survivors were rescued by human vessels and held in massive prison ships. The human fleet suffered 12 damaged vessels and 0 casualties. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Humanity, the peaceful species, had just destroyed the Velcran Empire's military power in a single afternoon. The balance of power had shifted forever. The command center of the Retribution blazed with light. Screens showed data streaming faster than any human could read. All around the Erebus void, ships that had slept for centuries were coming back to life. Weapon systems activated, shields powered up. Engines that could cross the galaxy in days rumbled with energy. Taiyang stood in the center of it all watching. Part of him felt triumph. He had done it. He had found the fleet, but another part felt fear. What had he just unleashed? Fleet status report, Sentinel's voice announced. 3,847 vessels operational. 216 vessels require minor repairs. All weapon systems functional. All AI cores synchronized. The Earth Defense Fleet stands ready for combat operations. Hana grabbed Taiyang's arm. Her face was pale. Taiyang, do you understand what you just did? These are not just ships. They are weapons designed to fight a war of extinction. We need to think about this. Think about what? Taiyang said. My sister is dead. The Velcran killed her. They need to pay. I know, Hana said. But look at these weapon specifications. These ships can destroy planets. They have bombs that can collapse stars. If we use this fleet, we could kill billions of people. Jiwan was studying the tactical displays. She had been quiet since the fleet woke up, but now she spoke. Hana is right to be concerned. But she is also wrong about one thing. The galaxy runs on power. The Velcron Empire does whatever it wants because nobody can stop them. If we want justice for Minji, we need to show strength. That is the only language bullies understand. This is not about language, Hana argued. This is about becoming the same kind of monsters who killed Minji. If we use these weapons, we are no better than the Velcron. We are better, Jiwan said firmly. Because we will only target military installations. We will not murder civilians. We will give them a chance to surrender. Taeyang listened to them argue. His head hurt. Everything was happening so fast. A month ago he was just an engineer living a quiet life. Now he was standing on a warship that could reshape the galaxy. Sentinel, he said, show me what these ships can do. The AI responded immediately. Holographic displays appeared showing different weapon systems. Taeyang saw missiles that could phase through shields, drones that attacked in swarms of thousands, energy weapons that could cut through any armor, and worse things. Much worse things. One weapon was called a reality anchor. It could freeze space itself, trapping enemy ships in a bubble where time did not move. Another was called a cascade bomb. It would make a star go supernova, destroying everything in the system. These weapons were designed to fight the Kraviks, Sentinel explained. The Kraviks did not take prisoners. They did not negotiate. Every battle was fought for total annihilation. These weapons ensured humanity's survival. But we are not fighting the Kraviks, Hana said. We are fighting the Velcron. They are terrible, but they are not trying to extinct humanity. If we use these weapons, we will start a war that could destroy half the galaxy. The Velcron murdered a civilian on live broadcast, Jiwan countered. They are occupying New Haven right now. Every day we wait, more people die. We need to act. Taeyang closed his eyes. He saw Minji's face, her smile. The way she always believed people could be better. Would she want this? Would she want him to unleash this kind of violence in her name? Sentinel, he said quietly. Can we set limits on the weapons? Can we make sure we only hit military targets? Affirmative, Sentinel replied. All weapon systems can be configured for precision strikes. However, limiting our tactical options will reduce combat effectiveness by approximately 34%. I do not care about effectiveness, Taeyang said. I care about not killing innocent people. Set all weapons to minimum necessary force. Target only Velcron military ships and installations. No civilian casualties. No planet-killer weapons. Can you do that? Sentinel paused. The pause felt longer than it should. Your parameters are acknowledged. However, I must warn you that showing mercy to an enemy often results in prolonged conflict and increased casualties on both sides. The most efficient path to victory is overwhelming force applied without hesitation. I do not want efficiency, Taeyang said. I want justice. There is a difference. Justice is a subjective concept, Sentinel said. But I will comply with your orders. Rules of engagement updated. Minimum necessary force authorized. Civilian casualties to be avoided when tactically feasible. Hana looked relieved. Jiwan looked frustrated but did not argue. They both understood Taeyang was the one who had activated the fleet. The decision was his to make. What is our first target? Jiwan asked. Taeyang pulled up a star map. New Haven. We free the colony first. Then we go after Velcron military bases. We show them what happens when you hurt humans. They spent the next 6 hours planning. Sentinel provided tactical assessments. Jiwan added her knowledge of coalition space. Hana made sure their communications were encrypted so nobody could intercept their plans. The fleet would jump directly into New Haven's orbit. They would destroy any Velcron ships in the system. They would demand the immediate withdrawal of all occupation forces. If the Velcron refused, they would disable the ships without destroying them and force an evacuation. It was a good plan, clean, precise. Nobody had to die if the Velcron were smart enough to surrender. But Taeyang knew they would not surrender. Warriors like the Velcron did not back down. They would fight, and people would die. Are we ready? He asked. The fleet is ready, Sentinel confirmed. All ships have been briefed on the mission parameters. We can jump on your command. Taeyang looked at Hana and Jiwan. Last chance to back out. If we do this, there is no going back. Earth will call us traitors. The Coalition will call us warmongers. The galaxy will never look at humanity the same way again. Good, Jiwan said. Let them see what happens when they push humans too far. Hana nodded slowly. I am scared, but I am more scared of living in a galaxy where people like Minji can be murdered without consequences. Let us do this. Taeyang turned to the main display. Nearly 4,000 warships waited for his order. Weapons that had been sleeping for centuries were ready to wake up and remind the galaxy what humanity was capable of when pushed to the edge. He thought of Minji one last time. Her kindness, her hope, her belief that words could solve problems. He wished she was right. He wished the galaxy was the kind of place where peace was possible. But it was not that place. Not yet, Sentinel, Taeyang said. Take us to New Haven. It is time to bring our people home. Acknowledged, Sentinel replied. Initiating jump sequence. All ships prepare for combat operations. Space twisted around the Retribution. The ancient fleet moved as one, jumping across the galaxy in an instant. When they emerged, they would no longer be a secret. The galaxy would see humanity's true face, and it would be terrifying. Outside the viewports, stars stretched into lines. The jump had begun. Taeyang gripped the railing and held on tight. In minutes, they would reach New Haven. In minutes, the war would begin. He hoped he was making the right choice. He hoped Minji would understand. He hoped this would bring justice instead of just more death. But hope was a luxury he could not afford anymore. Now there was only action. Only the fleet. Only the cold mathematics of war. The countdown timer reached 0. They emerged into New Haven's orbit and the battle began. Taeyang spent 3 days locked in his apartment, searching through files his grandmother had left behind. Most of it was boring stuff like old photos and letters, but buried deep in an encrypted folder, he found something strange. Military reports from 400 years ago, ship designs, coordinates to a place called the Erebus Void. His hands shook as he read. The reports talked about a war nobody remembered. An alien race called the Kravix had attacked Earth without warning. They wanted to wipe out humanity completely. Earth had fought back with everything they had. The war lasted 5 years and killed billions of people on both sides. Humanity won, but barely. The weapons they used were terrible. Ships that could destroy entire fleets in seconds. Bombs that made stars collapse. AI systems that could predict enemy movements before they happened. When the war ended, Earth's leaders were horrified by what they had become. They made a choice. They would hide their military power from the galaxy. They would pretend to be weak and peaceful. The entire war fleet was sent to a hidden location and put to sleep. The coordinates were erased from all public records, but Taeyang's grandmother had kept a copy. He knew he could not do this alone. He needed help from people he could trust. He called his childhood friend Hana first. Hana was a hacker. She worked for a tech company during the day, but at night she broke into systems for fun. She had gotten in trouble with the law a few times, but nothing serious. When Taeyang explained what he found, she was silent for a long time. "This is crazy," she finally said. "If this is real, it means Earth has been lying to the galaxy for centuries." "I know," Taeyang said. "Will you help me?" Hana thought about Minji. She had known her too. They had all grown up together in the same neighborhood. "Yes," she said. "I will help." The next person Taeyang contacted was Jiwon. She was a former officer in the Coalition Navy. She had quit after she got tired of politics and corruption. Now she worked as a cargo pilot, moving supplies between colonies. Jiwon was tougher than Hana. When Taeyang showed her the files, she studied them carefully. "These ship designs are ancient," she said, "but they are more advanced than anything the Coalition has now. If this fleet exists, it could change everything." "Can you fly us there?" Taeyang asked. Jiwon looked at him hard. "Do you understand what you are asking? If Earth finds out we are looking for this fleet, they will arrest us. If the Velcran find out, they will kill us. And if we actually find these ships, we might start a war that could destroy the whole galaxy." "They already started a war," Taeyang said quietly. "They killed my sister on live broadcast. They are killing more people every day on New Haven. Nobody is stopping them." Jiwon nodded slowly. "All right, I am in." They met at Jiwon's ship 3 days later. It was a small transport vessel called the Morning Star. Not fancy, but fast enough to slip past patrols. They loaded supplies and equipment. Hana brought computers and hacking tools. Taeyang brought the coordinates and his grandmother's files. Before they left, Taeyang visited his parents one last time. He did not tell them what he was planning. He just hugged them and said goodbye. His mother cried. She had already lost one child. Taeyang felt guilty, but he could not stop now. The journey to the Erebus Void took 2 weeks. They had to avoid major shipping lanes and Coalition checkpoints. Jiwan was a skilled pilot. She knew all the quiet routes through empty space. On the 5th day, they picked up a signal following them. A small ship keeping its distance. "We have a tail," Jiwan announced. Hana pulled up the ship's signature on her computer. "It is an Earth security vessel. They must have been monitoring us, and can we lose them?" Taeyang asked. "Maybe," Jiwan said. "But if we run, they will know we are hiding something." They decided to take the risk. Jiwan pushed the Morning Star to maximum speed and dove into an asteroid field. The security ship followed. Rocks the size of houses tumbled through space around them. Jiwan weaved between them like she was dancing. The security ship was not as skilled. It tried to follow too closely and clipped an asteroid. The impact damaged its engines. They were forced to fall back. "We are clear," Jiwan said. "But they will report our position. We need to move fast." 3 days later, they picked up another tail. This time it was worse. A Velcran scout ship. Somehow they had intercepted communications about Taeyang's search. The Velcran wanted to know what humanity was hiding. The scout ship was faster than the Morning Star. It was gaining on them. Jiwan pushed the engines to dangerous levels, but it was not enough. "They are charging weapons," Hana said. Fear filled her voice. Taeyang made a decision. "Jump now. Use the coordinates for the Erebus Void." "We are not close enough," Jiwan argued. The jump could tear the ship apart. "Do it anyway," Taeyang said. "It is our only chance." Jiwan cursed but activated the jump drive. Space twisted around them. The ship shook violently. Alarm screamed. For a moment, Taeyang thought they would die. Then reality snapped back into place. They had made it. The Erebus Void stretched out before them. It was a region of space far from any star. Darkness surrounded them in every direction. And floating in that darkness were thousands of ships, the ancient fleet. They were enormous. Each ship was the size of a city. Their hulls were black and scarred from old battles. They floated in perfect formation, silent and dead. No lights, no power signatures, just metal and memories. "I cannot believe it," Hana whispered. "It is real. All of it is real." Jiwan guided the Morning Star toward the largest ship at the center of the formation. It was a command carrier called the Retribution. According to Taeyang's files, this was where the fleet's AI was housed. They docked with the Retribution and put on spacesuits. The inside of the ship was cold and dark. Their helmet lights cut through the blackness as they walked through empty corridors. Everything was preserved perfectly like a tomb. They found the command center deep in the ship's core. Taeyang approached the main console and plugged in his grandmother's access codes. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then lights began to flicker on. Systems hummed to life. The entire ship began to wake up. A voice spoke from the speakers. It was calm and emotionless. Identity confirmed. Command authority recognized. "I am Sentinel, tactical AI of the Earth Defense Fleet. I have been in hibernation for 421 years, 7 months, and 13 days. Please state the nature of the recall." Taeyang's throat felt tight. He had imagined this moment for weeks, but now that it was real, he did not know what to say. Finally, he found his voice. "My sister was murdered by the Velcran Empire. They killed her in cold blood for trying to make peace. Earth will not help us. The Coalition will not help us. I am here to wake up the fleet and make them pay." Sentinel was quiet for several seconds. Taeyang could almost imagine it thinking, weighing options, running calculations. "Understood," Sentinel finally said. "A human civilian was killed by a hostile empire without provocation or legal justification. This constitutes an act of war under emergency protocols. Authorization satisfied. Beginning full fleet reactivation sequence." Around them, the Retribution came fully online. Lights blazed. Engines rumbled. And outside, across the entire Erebus Void, thousands of warships began to wake from their ancient sleep. A human girl was slain by the Empire, so we awakened the ancient fleet story outline. 5 parts, third-person narrative. Part 1. The incident setting, the year 2847. Humanity has joined the Galactic Coalition, a vast interstellar alliance of hundreds of species. Humans are considered a minor race, peaceful traders and explorers who colonized only a handful of outer rim worlds. The tragedy. On the human colony world of New Haven, a young woman named Minji works as a cultural liaison between humans and alien visitors. She's bright, optimistic, and beloved by her community. When the Velcran Empire, a militaristic supremacist power, demands New Haven surrender its resources and submit to imperial rule, the human colonial governor politely refuses. In retaliation, Velcran shock troopers land in the capital city. During a peaceful protest, Minji steps forward to negotiate. Without warning, the Velcran commander executes her in front of thousands, broadcasting the killing across the galaxy as a lesson to inferior species. The reaction. The Galactic Coalition offers condolences but takes no action. The Velcran Empire is too powerful to oppose. Earth's government is paralyzed by fear. But Minji's brother, Taeyang, a civilian engineer, refuses to accept this. He discovers old family records indicating their grandmother was part of a classified military project centuries ago, something called the Sleeper Protocol. Part 2. The Search for the Ancient Fleet. The investigation. Taeyang recruits his childhood friend Hana, a brilliant hacker, and Jiwon, a disillusioned former Coalition naval officer. Together they break into classified Earth archives and uncover a shocking truth. Before humanity joined the Galactic Coalition, Earth fought a devastating war against an alien invasion force called the Kravix. Humanity won barely, using weapons and tactics so ruthlessly effective that they horrified even Earth's leaders. After the war, the UN decided humanity should hide its true military capabilities and present itself as peaceful to the galaxy. The entire war fleet, thousands of advanced warships equipped with AI-driven combat systems, reality-warping weapons, and swarm tactics, was mothballed in a hidden star system called the Erebus Void. The ships were placed in automated hibernation, waiting for a recall signal that was never supposed to come. The journey. The trio steals a small transport ship and follows the coordinates. They navigate through uncharted space, pursued by both Earth security, who want to preserve the secret, and Velcran scouts, who've intercepted their transmissions. They reach the Erebus Void, a graveyard of silent, massive warships floating in the darkness, their hulls scarred from ancient battles. Part 3. Awakening the Fleet. The activation. Inside the flagship Retribution, they find the Central Command AI, which calls itself Sentinel. Sentinel is cold, calculating, and designed for one purpose: total warfare. It has been waiting for 400 years. When Taeyang explains what happened to Minji, Sentinel analyzes the situation. A human civilian was murdered without provocation by a hostile empire. This constitutes an act of war. Authorization protocol satisfied. Reactivation commencing. The ancient fleet begins to wake. Thousands of ships power up, their weapon systems coming online. Hana realizes the danger. These ships were built for extermination warfare. She tries to convince Taeyang to shut them down, fearing humanity will become the monsters they're fighting against. The decision, Taeyang is torn. He wanted justice for Minji, not genocide. But Jiwon argues that the galaxy's power structure is maintained through fear. The only way to make the Velcran Empire pay is to speak their language. After a heated debate, Taeyang makes a choice. He'll use the fleet, but he'll set strict rules of engagement. Only military targets. No civilian casualties. Sentinel reluctantly agrees to these parameters, though it warns that mercy is often mistaken for weakness. Part 4. The Reckoning, the First Strike. The ancient fleet emerges from the Erebus Void and jumps directly into Velcran space. The Empire's border defenses, considered impenetrable, are obliterated in minutes. Human warships use tactics the galaxy has never seen. Swarm drones that overwhelm shields, quantum-spliced torpedoes that phase through armor, and cyber warfare that turns enemy ships against each other. The Velcran High Command is shocked. They've never faced an enemy that fights like this. They send their grand fleet, 2,000 ships, to crush the human rebellion. The Battle of Crimson Nebula. The two fleets meet in a massive engagement. The Velcran forces outnumber the humans, but they're fighting a military doctrine centuries behind. Human ships move in perfect coordination, guided by Sentinel's tactical genius. One by one, Velcran battle groups are dismantled. The Velcran Emperor watches in horror as his invincible fleet is destroyed. He orders a retreat, but Taeyang pursues. The galaxy watches in real time as humanity, the peaceful species, reveals its true face. The dilemma. As victory becomes inevitable, Sentinel suggests destroying the Velcran homeworld to prevent future threats. Taeyang refuses. But the other human crew members are divided. Some want total victory. Others fear what humanity is becoming. Part 5, The New Balance, The Aftermath. The Velcran Empire surrenders unconditionally. The Emperor is forced to stand trial at the Galactic Coalition headquarters. The galaxy is in shock. Humanity has fundamentally altered the balance of power. Consequences. Other species now view humans with fear and suspicion. Some propose sanctions. Others seek alliances. Earth's government is furious with Taiyang for exposing their secret. But the public hails him as a hero. Taiyang visits Minji's grave on New Haven. He's haunted by the deaths he caused, even enemy soldiers. He wonders if his sister would be proud or horrified by what he's done in her name. The future. The Galactic Coalition offers humanity a permanent seat on the Security Council, but with conditions. Earth must share technology and prove they won't use the ancient fleet for conquest. Taiyang proposes a compromise. The fleet will return to hibernation, but the galaxy must establish a new law. Any species that commits acts of terror against civilians will face immediate military response. The motion passes. A memorial is built on New Haven for Minji and all victims of imperial aggression. Final scene. In the Erebus Void, Sentinel and the fleet return to sleep. But before shutting down, Sentinel sends a final message to Taiyang. Humanity has proven it can be both merciful and strong. Guard this balance carefully. I will be watching. Taiyang stands alone on the observation deck of New Haven Station, looking up at the stars. The galaxy has changed forever. Humanity is no longer underestimated, but now they must live up to the responsibility that comes with power. Hana joins him. "Do you think we did the right thing?" she asks. Taiyang is silent for a long moment. "I think we did the only thing we could, and now we live with it." The screen fades as humanity enters a new era, no longer the galaxy's underdogs, but its reluctant guardians. Themes: justice versus vengeance, the cost of revealing one's true nature, the responsibility that comes with power. HFY, humanity, fuck yeah, trope with moral complexity. Tone: military science fiction with emotional depth. Exploration of whether violence in defense of innocence is justified. The burden of making impossible choices. End of outline. The aftermath of the Battle of Crimson Nebula sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Every news station broadcast the footage. Every government held emergency meetings. Every military analyzed the tactics. Humanity had changed from a minor, peaceful species into the most powerful military force in known space overnight. The Velcran Empire collapsed within weeks. Without their grand fleet, they could not maintain control over their conquered worlds. Rebellions broke out across their territory. Species that had been enslaved for generations rose up and claimed their freedom. The Velcran Emperor tried to maintain order, but his authority was gone. He had promised strength and delivered catastrophic defeat. A month after the battle, the Emperor himself appeared before the Galactic Coalition headquarters. He wore no armor, carried no weapons. He looked like an old, tired warrior who had finally lost his last fight. "I come to surrender," he said simply. "I offer myself for trial. Do with me what you will." The coalition held a tribunal. Representatives from hundreds of species watched, as the Emperor was charged with war crimes including the murder of Minji and thousands of other civilians. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. The Emperor was found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment. His empire was dissolved. The Velcran people were placed under coalition supervision until they could form a peaceful government. But while the Velcran fell, humanity rose. And not everyone was happy about it. Earth's government was furious with Taiyang. He had exposed their deepest secret and started an interstellar war without permission. Politicians demanded his arrest. Military officials called him a traitor. Some people even said he was worse than the Velcran because he had hidden such terrible weapons from the galaxy. But the public saw things differently. On Earth and on every human colony, Taiyang was a hero. He had done what the government was too afraid to do. He had protected humanity when nobody else would. Protests erupted in major cities. People demanded that the government leave Taiyang alone. Other species had mixed reactions. Some, like the ones who had been freed from Velcran rule, were grateful. They sent messages thanking humanity for stopping the Empire. They offered alliances and friendship, But others were afraid. If humanity had hidden this fleet for 400 years, what else were they hiding? Could humanity be trusted? Some species proposed sanctions. Others suggested military action to force Earth to dismantle the fleet. The Galactic Coalition was paralyzed by indecision. They had never faced a situation like this before. How do you handle a species that suddenly became more powerful than everyone else combined? Taeyang stood at the observation deck of the Retribution looking down at New Haven. The colony was rebuilding. The Velcron occupation had lasted only 2 weeks, but they had done damage. Buildings were burned. Fields were trampled. But people were resilient. They would recover. Hana and Jiwon joined him at the window. Earth wants us to come home, Hana said quietly. They say if we surrender peacefully, they will be lenient with our sentences. Taeyang smiled sadly. Do you believe them? No, Hana admitted. But I am tired, Taeyang. We started a war. We killed hundreds of thousands of people. I know they were enemies, but they were still people. I have nightmares about it. So do I, Taeyang said. He had watched every minute of the Battle of Crimson Nebula. He had seen ships explode. He had seen the casualty reports. Every death weighed on him. I thought I wanted justice, but justice feels a lot like revenge, and revenge feels like blood. Jiwon looked at both of them. You did what had to be done. The Velcron would have kept killing if you did nothing. Sometimes the only way to stop a bully is to hit back harder than they hit you. Maybe, Taeyang said, but now we have to live with what we did. The galaxy is afraid of us, they should be. We have weapons that could destroy civilizations. We proved we are willing to use them. So what do we do? Hana asked. Before Taeyang could answer, Sentinel's voice came through the speakers. Incoming transmission from the Galactic Coalition. They are requesting your presence at an emergency council meeting. Taeyang exchanged glances with Hana and Jiwon. I guess we find out what happens next. The Coalition Council meeting was held in neutral space. Representatives from every major species attended. Taeyang arrived alone, leaving the fleet behind. He wore simple civilian clothes, no weapons, no armor. Just a man ready to face the consequences of his choices. The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of aliens sat in tiered rows, all watching him. Taeyang felt very small, standing in the center. The council leader, a wise old diplomat from the Kelthran species, spoke first. Taeyang of Earth, you have committed acts of war without authorization. You have revealed technology that violates Earth's treaty obligations. You have killed hundreds of thousands of beings. What do you have to say for yourself? Taeyang took a breath. I say that my sister was murdered by the Velcron Empire while trying to make peace. I say that Earth did nothing to help her. I say that this council condemned the violence but sent no aid. I say that I did what nobody else would do. I protected my people. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some angry, some approving. You started a war, another council member accused. No, Taeyang said firmly. The Velcron started a war when they killed an unarmed civilian on live broadcast. I finished it. More murmurs. The council leader raised his hand for silence. The question before us is what to do with humanity now. You have power that could threaten the entire galaxy. How can we trust you? Taeyang thought carefully about his answer. You cannot trust power. Power corrupts. I have seen it in myself. I wanted justice and I got blood. The fleet should not be controlled by any one person or government. It is too dangerous. He pulled out a data chip and held it up. This contains the coordinates to the Erebus Void and the command codes for the entire fleet. I am surrendering them to this council. But I have conditions. The chamber erupted. Council members shouted questions. Security officers moved closer. The council leader called for order. What conditions? He demanded. The fleet will return to hibernation, Taeyang said. But you must establish a new law. Any species that commits acts of terrorism against civilians will face immediate military response. Not sanctions, not condemnations, real consequences. The Velcron killed my sister because they knew nobody would stop them. That has to change. You want to give the council teeth, the council leader said slowly. I want to make sure what happened to Minji never happens again, Taeyang said. Create a rapid response force. Multiple species working together. Make it clear that the galaxy will not tolerate the murder of innocents. Do that, and I will give you the fleet. The council debated for hours. Some wanted to reject Taeyang's offer and take the fleet by force. Others argued that would just start another war. Finally, they voted. The motion passed by a narrow margin. The Galactic Coalition would form a joint military force dedicated to protecting civilians across all species. Humanity would contribute, the ancient fleet, but it would be controlled by representatives from multiple governments. No single species would have exclusive control. It was not perfect, but it was something. Taeyang returned to New Haven one last time before the fleet departed. He went to the memorial that had been built in the central square. Minji's name was carved into black stone along with the names of everyone who had died during the Velcron occupation. He placed flowers at the base of the memorial and knelt down. I hope I did the right thing, he whispered. I tried to get justice for you, but justice is messy. It is complicated. I do not know if you would be proud of me or ashamed. The wind blew gently across the square. Somewhere, children were laughing. Life continued. Hana and Jiwon found him there an hour later. The fleet is ready to return to the Erebus Void, Jiwon said. Sentinel is asking for final orders. Taeyang stood up slowly. He looked at the memorial one last time, then at his friends. Let them sleep. Maybe someday the galaxy will not need weapons like that. Maybe someday we will solve problems without violence. But not today, Hana said softly. No, Taeyang agreed. Not today, but maybe tomorrow, or the day after. We have to hope. They walked back to the Morning Star together. The ancient fleet was already preparing to jump back to its hidden graveyard. Sentinel had transmitted copies of itself to Coalition Command, but the main AI would return to hibernation with the ships. Before they left, Sentinel sent one final message to Taeyang. You have proven that humanity can be both merciful and strong. Guard this balance carefully. I will be watching. The fleet jumped away, leaving normal space empty once more. The galaxy slowly returned to normal, but nothing was truly the same. Humanity was no longer underestimated. They were no longer ignored. They had shown their teeth, and the galaxy remembered. Taeyang returned to Earth a month later. He was not arrested. Public pressure was too strong. Instead, he was offered a position as humanity's representative to the new Coalition Defense Force. He accepted, knowing that someone needed to make sure the power he had awakened was never misused. Sometimes, late at night, he still saw Minji's face. He still wondered if he had made the right choices. The weight of all those deaths pressed on him like a physical thing. But he also saw the freed colonies. He saw species standing up to oppression, knowing the galaxy would support them.